Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolebarger, Holy Ground Explorations. Time for this week's KFIR Middle East update. It's the week of June 15th. We're going to jump right into the headlines for this week. By the way, before we do, go to our website, holygroundexplorations.com, to access the PDF PowerPoint that accompanies this short YouTube. Photos and much more detail you find in that PDF. Okay, what's going on this week? Again, we're going to deal with Trump's peace plan. We're looking forward to seeing what is actually involved in what he has, or the contents of what he is going to be rolling out in the next week or so. We know that there's an envoy that's heading over to Israel next week to begin this process. But here's the bottom line. The reason, according to Netanyahu, that there will not be peace between the Israelis and the Arabs is for one reason and one reason only. It's because the Palestinians' persistent rejection of the right to Israel for Israel to exist. The rejection of a Jewish state is the primary problem. And until this is taken care of, it doesn't matter what the details of this so-called ultimate peace plan will hold. Also this week, Nikki Haley, the UN ambassador, has labeled the UN organization as, quote, morally bankrupt, after a General Assembly meeting voted overwhelmingly to condemn, you guessed it, Israel over the recent Gaza border violence. No mention of rockets, no mention of the kites, fire bombs and all of that. No mention of Hamas. No, just the condemnation of Israel. Netanyahu's warning that this whole thing with Iran and Syria is far from over. There's another article that you'll see here about Hezbollah. But Netanyahu's gone on to say that Iran's brought over 80,000 Shiite fighters into Syria. And, in order to convert Syria's Sunni majority, and basically the bottom line is for endless upheaval and terrorism, specifically in regards to Israel. And then tomorrow, it's Thursday, my time of this presentation. Do you suppose that the UN General Assembly's vote slamming Israel has emboldened Hamas to, quote, play with fire? You've heard last week and weeks before, we've talked about these balloons and these kites, fires that are being set on the other side of the Gaza border. But Hamas is now threatening to send, catch this, 5,000 burning kites towards Israel tomorrow on Friday, marking the end of the month of Ramadan. There's that whole incident of peace, and there is no peace, and the craziness of the UN in regards to condemning Israel in light of rockets and fire bombs that are continually, and then terror tunnels. Go figure. I'm going to let you read for yourself the article. But there's two articles here on Trump's peace plan. One's called the U.S. Peace Plan. The other one's called the Ultimate Deal. It's interesting, in light of what's taken place in this last week with the U.S. and North Korea. Who would have thought that there would be even momentum towards a peaceful relationship? That's dim in light of what's taken place in the Middle East. Do you realize that the secret partners are coming sort of out of the closet? A featured published article in the New Yorker magazine last Monday chronicles the shifting in Middle East landscape. The article details Saudi Arabia's willingness to have, now catch this, a full relationship with Israel. it is hard to even imagine what's taking place in the craziness of our world today. Rudy Giuliani, in an interview with the Palestinian Media Watch in light of this potential peace plan being unveiled in the weeks to come, here's the bottom line. This is Trump's lawyer. His comments about the Palestinian Authority, here's about 4 quotes. The PA is a prime supporter of terrorism and therefore is not entitled to be a state. The PA is simply a murder machine. The U.S. should not give the PA any money and not just restrict the use of money because money is fungible. And then finally, he went on to commend our friends at the Palestinian Media Watch, saying that they're doing such a great service documenting everything that's taking place on such a large scale. And I want to congratulate them and hope that they continue. So again, even within the insiders of the Trump administration, things kind of leak out in terms of their opinions of the Palestinian Authority. Do you really believe that there will be peace in the Middle East? I think not. Well, an article here about the UN condemning Israel. A huge majority of the United Nations General Assembly on Wednesday passed a resolution condemning Israel for, quote, excessive, disproportionate, and indiscriminate force during the recent clashes on the Gaza border. Again, I think the votes were 120 yeses, 8 noes. No big surprise here. And then a couple more articles, one on the Hezbollah. Last week we reported that Russia has kind of pressured Syria in stating that, we're going to kind of clean up the borders and make sure that the Hezbollah especially is not close to the Golan or the borders, and again, the Iranian influence in Syria will be removed. Not so quick. A Syrian human rights monitoring group has reported on Thursday that the Hezbollah terror group leadership has refused to agree to a Russian request that forces them to vacate a number of locations in southwest Israel near the Israeli and Lebanese border. Secretary General of Hamas, Hassan Nasrallah, has stated that, I'll tell you, his quote, I'll tell you that if the whole world comes together to force us to leave Syria, they will not be able to evict us. We have thousands, and we will continue to have a presence in Syria itself. Well, once again, we'll have to wait and see. And finally, social media, Shin Bet. You know, sometimes we look at Israel and we say things are much more peaceful than what they've been in the past in regards to terrorism taking place inside of Israel. But it was just recently released from the Shin Bet that Israeli authorities have foiled over 200 Palestinian attacks by monitoring social media and sifting through vast amounts of data to identify prospective assailants. Again, the head of Shin Bet has said that it's foiled actually over 250 terrorist attacks during the past 6 months, preventing suicide bombings, abductions of soldiers, as well as shootings. So it's not as if the attempts are still not there. So that's kind of our report from the Middle East on this week of June 15th. And again, let me encourage you to be an advocate, to stand with Israel, to pray for the peace of Jerusalem in our day. And God bless you all.